Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Above the Rim Rundown, where we run down all things NBA. I am one of your hosts, Memo. Right beside me, I got Hoops, and right behind me, over here, is the Los Angeles Clippers. We got the whole starting five back there. Let's go.
Oh, welcome aboard a really special guest.
Our first guest. Let's go. Our podcast is blowing up. In all seriousness, yeah, it's just a bunch of clothes that I need to donate, but I didn't bother putting them away. So sorry for the eyesore, but it is what it is. I had to do a lot of cleaning today. Um, but yeah, I'm glad that you're here because last week it was our very first solo episode where I had to like take the reins and go over uh, the entire series for the semifinals for each matchup. So I went over the semifinals. I went over my predictions for the conference finals. Kind of. I'll explain that a little later. So we definitely missed you, and we will definitely go over your conference finals predictions, your thoughts on the semifinals, and later on in this episode as well, we will go over our award predictions and go over the actual award winners for the NBA awards and all the NBA teams, the All NBA, the All Rookie, the All Defensive. But before we do all that, how have you been, Hoops? Because we know that you weren't here last week, and why was that? What happened?
Yeah, so I went on a short little 1 week vacation with my family in China. Um, it was a pretty cool trip, I will say. Got to visit a lot of family that I hadn't seen in over a decade. Matter of fact, more than just a decade, 16 years. The last time I went back with my family was 20 or 2008. Um, Obviously, you guys might recall last year I went, but that was for work, not for visiting family. So this meant a little bit more for sure. Um, and it was a cool trip. Mostly catch up with family members that we haven't talked with in 16 years, and then went out for a few family dinners and luncheons. And then we also visited a few historical sites for our ancestors. And then we had like a little bit of tourism time, but not a lot because our time was like really excelled. So I was only technically I wasn't even there for actually a full week. 2 days were wasted on traveling on the airplane. So really I only had like 5 real days in China. And though it was really fast and short, we definitely made the most out of it. Um, it was cool to re-experience my family roots and cool to see everyone again. Obviously, one 5 days in another country is very, very short, especially knowing that the flight in itself was 12 hours. Add those two together, it's really over 24 hours because like driving after arriving to the airport and then getting to the airport, you name it. Um, but it was cool. Got back Thursday afternoon, technically. Landed at LAX at around 3 p.m. And then we went through the custom check where they check our passports. The time we left the airport after that and like baggage claim, we got in the car probably around 4 o'clock. And then by the time we got home, it was like um probably like 5:30 or 6. So it was rush hour traffic. So it took over half an hour to get home. So probably more so 6. Um and then the next day, I went to work on Friday just because one day before the weekend might as well. And it was okay. Just do the same work I usually do. And then unfortunately last night I got a little bit of a sore throat, but it's relatively minor for the most part. I don't know what led to it, but it's just a small thing. So if I have like a slight voice difference, I apologize. But aside from that, overall, I've been doing pretty good, I will say. Memo, I know that you mentioned a little bit about what you did yesterday on Saturday. Aside from that, is there anything else you would like to mention? Everything been going good with you for the last 2 weeks, shall we say?
Yeah, everything's been good. Of course, Saturday, like I went and did this. I took out a lot of clothes out of my closet to donate. Like it's it was getting pretty bad, so I had to do it. There was clothes from like elementary school that's in those bags, and I'm 25, so it's been a while since I've been in elementary school. So I'm glad I got that done.
Like
But
15, 20 years
yeah,
almost.
yeah, it's been a while. But yeah, I mean, the same old for the most part. The hosting the podcast by myself was interesting. Um, Definitely a yap session for the ages, I will say. But definitely the most fun thing I did was actually on Friday when I went to the Tizo Touchdown concert, which we were supposed to go together. Unfortunately, the because of work, you really couldn't make it on time, which is all right. Like I understand. You just came back from vacation. I'm sure it's gonna be difficult to uh ask to be released like an hour too early. Um, so I understand that, but yeah, the concert was fun. It wasn't the best concert I've been to, but I'm a big fan of Tizo's music, especially with his music from his debut album. I thought it was pretty good. He has some great features on like on Tyler the Creator's albums, and also on Travis Scott album. He had a feature. He had a couple features on the newest Drake album. So he's slowly blowing up, and I think he has a lot of potential. He's very creative, and although it sucked not being able to go with you, the one good thing about not being able to go with you is being able to sell your ticket for double the price and essentially go to the concert for free because again I sold your ticket for double the price, which I know it's a scummy move. Like, no one likes a scalper, but I had the opportunity, might as well take it. And I wasn't very egregious with it either because most people were reselling the tickets for $90. I sold it for 70, so I still it was still a decent deal for people trying to get in last minute. So
Yeah.
call me a scalper, but I'm a more ethical scalper, I guess.
Yeah, maybe you can look into scalping as your side gig to earn some more money.
You know, as much as I don't like scalpers, I can't lie. It makes me happy making money off of something so stupid. But yeah, and I guess one last thing that I want to mention is that the concert was sponsored by Monster Energy Drink, so I was able to get a free Monster's Energy Drink, and it was my very first time drinking one, which I know a lot of people would be like looking at me crooked, like, why is that a big deal? It's not a big deal, but I just want to mention that I got a free drink and I liked it.
That's cool. I don't recall if I've actually had a Monster Energy, to be honest. I mean,
It's
we
not too
had
bad.
like we had like a few in the house, I think, like once in a blue moon, but I don't recall me personally opening it. My dad probably drank it. But I was just wondering, did that monster keep you up all night? Like, was it really strong or it wasn't that strong?
It wasn't that strong. I went to bed at midnight. I was fine.
Oh, that's good then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine it kept you up like all night. That would have been something.
Nah, I slept like a baby, which was weird because earlier this week I wasn't sleeping like a baby. I would like get up a few times during the night, which is normally not
Yeah.
like me. But that night, I slept like a baby after drinking the Monster Energy drink.
The irony, but that's pretty cool though.
Hmm.
Maybe that's a new tactic. Drink Monster Energy, sleep well. Jokes
Maybe,
on the general media.
maybe. But yeah, I think we can move on to some basketball since this is a basketball podcast at the end of the day. And I last week I went over every single matchup from the semifinals, talked about them, gave you my opinions on them. And you weren't able to do that last week. And we're not gonna go over every matchup from the semifinals, but just quickly overall, um, how did the outcomes compare to what you thought was gonna happen? Because I know it was definitely uh, not exactly what I predicted, like the Minnesota versus Nuggets series. I thought the Nuggets were gonna take it. I was wrong. I thought OKC was gonna beat the Mavs. I was wrong once again. Knicks versus Pacers. I thought the Knicks were gonna win it, but the Pacers won it. The only one I got correct was Boston versus the Cavs, and that's the one that I was hoping I'd be wrong about.
I
But
know, damn it.
yeah, so I'll give you the floor. What did you think was gonna happen, and then compare that to what actually happened.
Yeah. So I will say, overall, my I pretty much nailed like the majority of those picks for the semifinals. Um, I predicted the Timberwolves to win on the road in Denver, Game 7, and they did it. Um, Obviously, we know Denver jumped out to a really large 20-point lead in the third quarter, and the Wolves looked like they were pretty much dead in the water, but shout out to them. They never quit. They came back and they won. So good for the Timberwolves. They beat the Nuggets in 7 as I predicted, and 5 out of the 7 games were won by the road team. Call it home court disadvantage. I know, it's crazy. Um, and also Michael Malone eating his words after the game, like, come on,
I
man.
love that.
And it's like, yeah, and like, didn't he like bring out the Lakers again, saying like, who was the guy who didn't do very good this series? Um, Maybe like I don't remember honestly, KCP or someone. And then he's like, "We don't beat the Lakers without him doing so and so." Maybe it wasn't KCP,
It
but
was
like,
probably Michael
dude,
Porter
that
Jr.
series.
because it seems like he
Yeah,
always
did he not do
torches the
good this series?
Lakers. No, he was
Yeah,
awful against Minnesota.
yeah. Then it was probably him, honestly. But yeah, go Malone, man. Uh, Lakers live rent free in his mind. His team lost, and he still brings up the previous series, and then the commentators ask him a question, and he gets mad. Like, bro, if you can, if you're gonna like talk smack when you win, be able to handle some of the return like smack once you lose. But anyhow, the next series, Dallas and OKC. I nailed that prediction too. I predicted the Mavs to win in 6, and they did. I will say that some of those games kind of did shock me a little bit. Like for example, Game 6, the clinching game when the Mavs officially won that series, OKC was up 17 points. I thought they were gonna win, and then who knows what would have happened if it went Game 7 to OKC? Maybe the Mavs could have found a way to win on the road also, but in that loud stadium, you just never know. But credit to the Mavs, they got the job done. They win in 6 over the Thunder, just like they did against the Clippers in round 1. And that set up the Western Conference Finals matchup between the Timberwolves and the Mavs. So then that brings us to the Eastern Conference semifinals. And unfortunately, I correctly predicted the Celtics to beat the Cavs in 5. I think I said over Cavs or Magic, whoever it was, they probably win in 5. But yeah, it ended up being the Cavs, and I wish I was wrong, but unfortunately, uh, when Donovan Mitchell is out for like the last two games, you can't really expect much. And the fact that the Cavs were able to hang in close in those games is really respectable in my opinion. Like Celtics probably should have done better, honestly, but unfortunately, win's a win. They move on to the conference finals. And that brings us to the last Eastern Conference semifinals matchup, which unfortunately I did not get correct. Between the Knicks and the Pacers. I picked the Knicks to win. I forgot how many games it was. I think I said either 5 or 6. I want to say maybe I said 5, honestly. And to be honest, I feel like that would have been really possible if the Knicks were fully healthy. I mean, think about it. They were up 2-0, almost won game 3, but Pacers came back and pulled out that victory. And then they blew out the Knicks in game 4. But if the Knicks would have won game 3, lose game 4 anyway, they would have won game 5 probably. Because I remember there were quite a few blowouts late in that series. I believe the first 3 games were all close, and then the last 4 were all blowouts. And I think that the series probably could have been different if it wasn't for all the injuries by the Knicks. But unfortunately, they were too banged up, missing too many key guys. Pacers took advantage. They had that historical Game 7 shooting performance. I think it was like 67% from the field, the highest all time in a playoff game. That's crazy. And man, did they choose a perfect time to do it. But unfortunately for the Knicks, rough way for their season to end, and that set us up for the Eastern Conference Finals matchup between the Celtics and the Pacers. And I believe that will be a good lead up for us to now go over our conference finals matchups. Um, Maybe as usual, we go with the West first because West Coast the best coast.
West Coast is the best coast. So let's start off with Wolves versus Mavs. At this point, like while we're recording, there's only been 2 games so far. Um, you will be coming over, I guess technically later today. So we'll probably be able to see the third matchup against Wolves versus Mavericks later today, which will be fun because
Crucial game.
this has been a really competitive series, a really interesting series. It's definitely like the series to watch compared to Cavs versus Pacers, even though that's been kind of been interesting, but for like different
Yeah,
reasons.
yeah,
But
it has been.
yeah, do you want to go over games 1 and 2? Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, so I'll start with game 1. I missed this game because I was in China when game 1 happened, and pretty much I looked through the recap of what happened. It looks like that game was a pretty close and competitive game throughout. Um, Wolves led almost the entire game leading up until the fourth quarter. Then Luka took over in the fourth, and the Mavs were able to steal game 1. Um, Luka and Kyrie, their 2 superstars, had huge games. Luka putting up 33, Kyrie putting up 30, and that helped the Mavs come back and win with a very slim final score. I believe it was 108, 105, something like that. Yeah.
you're right. You're right.
Or yep, that's correct. But yeah, that was a really close game that honestly the Timberwolves dominated most of the game until the fourth quarter, and the Mavs took advantage. So, Mavericks went up 1-0 after game 1. Uh, any initial thoughts on game 1 specifically, Memo?
There was a few things like definitely Luca came in and played a lot better compared to his start with uh OKC. Like we know that his injury was definitely plaguing the way he was playing against OKC. His his knee injury to be more specific, but he does look a lot better um, in the series so far. And we'll definitely go over like his spectacular play in game 2, because that was a classic Luca playoff performance. But not only Luca Kyrie also did great. Combined, Kyrie and Luca had 63 points. Luca with 33, Kyrie with 30. They both were looking great towards the end. Well, mostly Luca. Luca's the one who carried it towards the end, I believe. Who does need to step up is Anthony Edwards, the next Michael Jordan, the next Kobe Bryant, is shooting very poorly. In this game, he went 6 for 16, 5 for 12 from 3, which is actually pretty decent, but 6 for 16 overall is not the best from your superstar. And he did have these bad games against the Nuggets, and he got away with it because he was playing pretty good defense. He was playmaking, he was rebounding. But I think the issue now is that Anthony Edwards, since he is so like insistent on guarding Kyrie, he's getting very tired out there. And because it's Kyrie Irving, like it's the one guy that's hard to guard in the league. If we set up a poll for all the NBA players, all the guards, to name one player that's like almost impossible to guard, it will probably be Kyrie Irving. And Anthony Edwards made sure to mention that he was gonna focus on guarding Kyrie. Kyrie ended up dropping 30 on him, and Anthony Edwards ended up being really tired. Really couldn't do anything to score in the fourth quarter, and they ended up losing that game. So there's that, I guess. Um, but we can move on to game two, which is definitely the more exciting game.
Definitely. And I think this game was like similar and different at the same time. Pretty much the Wolves dominated most of the game. They went up by as much as 18 points in the second quarter. And you thought strong bounce back by the Wolves should be 1-1 going back to Dallas. Well, we shall wait and find out. Mavs stormed back late in the third to pull close. Ultimately, they took the lead early in the fourth. And in the fourth, the two teams traded several jabs up until the end with baskets. Last minute was atrocious for the Wolves. They were up 5, 108 to 103, with 105 left. And that is where Kyrie hits a 3, pulls the game to within 2. And then the following two Timberwolves possessions were just straight up careless turnovers, man. Respectively, McDaniels and then Ant both had horrible out of bounds turnovers. I believe McDaniels was a lost ball turnover, and then Ant was a bad pass out of bounds turnover. And then that's what pretty much led to the ending shenanigans sequence, shall we say. Luka takes control of the ball with Rudy Gobert guarding him. And Rudy did not stand a chance. Luka absolutely put him on skates and drains the three ahead and drains the go-ahead three with 3 seconds left, and that put up the Mavs by 1. But it's not over yet because the Timberwolves have 3 seconds left, a timeout to quickly draw a play. So what do? One last shot for the Wolves coming out of the timeout. Inbounds pass to Naz Reid, who had a very great shooting performance and a really great look on the final shot, but unfortunately it was just a bit long. And the Mavs found themselves going up 2-0, heading back to Dallas for games 3 and 4. Naz Reid, though, he came up big this game for the Wolves, and he tried, man. He led the Wolves. He actually led the Wolves in scoring last night, or Friday, actually. Is 23 points and a whopping 7 of 9 from 3. Obviously, one of the misses was a crucial one, but to know that he was over pretty much 80% from 3 is pretty crazy. Obviously, they needed him to make one more, but you can't blame him. I mean, they should have done better on their play calls late. But yeah, unfortunately, it wasn't enough. It was a very excruciating loss for the Wolves, who have now find themselves down 2-0 heading to Dallas, which is the opposite of the last series when they were up 2-0 after two games in Denver, heading to Minnesota. Um, However, I think it's clear that the series is still not over yet. One thing we learned from the Timberwolves' previous series and the Nuggets is that this team is very capable of winning on the road, and they showed it. I mean, last series, they won three out of the four games in Denver. Didn't do very good at home, and obviously this series not doing good at home. But we'll see what happens in the next two games in Dallas. One thing for sure, as we know, game three will be very crucial because no team has ever come back from down 3-0, and they do not want to put themselves in that situation. But we will see. And Memo, any like added thoughts on game two? Or
Yeah. Well, first off, that shot by Luca was amazing. Like as I said, it was like classic Luca playoff performance right there. The way that he was able to carry his team, get a 30-point triple double with decent efficiency. Definitely better than a lot of his games in the OKC series, that's for sure. And yeah, just being able to hit that game winning three, basically game winning three, on the defensive play of the
yeah,
year is
eventual game.
exactly. Being able to
Yeah.
hit that on the defensive play of the year is impressive. I will say that
Yeah.
Rudy Gobert is getting a lot of like he's being overly hated for that play, like especially from Draymond Green, who is a known jealous,
Yeah.
insecure man that hates Rudy Gobert because Rudy has four defensive player of the years. Draymond only has one, so he's clearly jealous and just hates Rudy. On the TNT broadcast, uh, random fans were saying Draymond sucks because he does. He sucks,
Yeah.
and Draymond's response was, "No, Rudy sucks." Just blaming the game on Rudy Gobert basically for not being able to block Luca's shot, which like any other big man in the league would have had the same results. Honestly, like maybe
Yeah.
Anthony Davis, maybe Bam would lock them up because they a little quicker on their feet, but 99% of NBA centers would not have blocked that shot, including
I
Gobert,
agree.
which is what we
I agree.
saw.
And yeah. And I saw like a few comments and posts, like for example, where there was the clip from game four last year between the Lakers and the Warriors when AD locked up Steph to help the Lakers secure that game four crucial win. And so maybe AD could have guarded Luca. Who knows? But the fact of the matter is, all of that is just fantasy what ifs. We don't know for sure what would have happened, and to blame Rudy for not blocking that shot is kind of unprecedented, knowing that a lot of bigs can't. Come on now. But I will say, to somewhat add fuel to the fire for those haters. And I'm not saying this out of spite for him per se, but like Luca in the past has pretty much been like owning Rudy Gobert. Like he made like I believe he made like a game-winning three against when Slovenia played against France in the 2021 Olympics. I believe that shot was, and then he made a game winner on Rudy in the 2022 playoffs when the Mavs took down the Jazz the final year before he got traded to the Timberwolves. And then came this shot where Luca put up another a go ahead eventual game winner on Rudy. So I will say it's been a lot of bad luck for Rudy guarding Luca, but definitely overhated for sure. And you viewers probably know, like even us personally, we're not Rudy Gobert fans at all. But like Gotta give credit where due. Like a lot of other bigs wouldn't have blocked it either. But that was obviously a very back and forth game. And game one, Mavs won by 3. Game two, Mavs only won by 1. Could have easily been 1-1 right now. If the Wolves would have played better down the stretch, they could have been up 2-0. But what happened happened. The Mavs were able to pull out 2 tough wins on the road, and credit to them. Now the Timberwolves will need to do the same, and we'll see what happens. But so far, this series has definitely been really entertaining. I will say that.
That's for
And
sure.
definitely, I will say the Western Conference Finals for sure has been more interesting than the Eastern Conference
Hundred
Finals.
percent.
And
Like always.
as you mentioned, the East has been interesting for different reasons, which we'll go on about soon. But like this one is because of competitiveness. Nothing beats that.
Yeah,
But Memo,
actual
go on with what
basketball.
you were going to say.
Uh,
Facts.
I mean, just a few more notes, I guess, on Minnesota. Uh, I don't want people blaming Gobert for the reason why Minnesota lost, because we could look at everybody really and point out a lot of flaws. Like again, Anthony Edwards shot very poorly, 5 for 17, 2 for 7 from three. That is ass. Jaden McDaniels, who was the leading scorer in game one, only scored 2 points in game two. Towns, who played very well in the fourth quarter of, I believe, game one. I could be mistaken. Maybe it was game two. Uh, Still, in game two, though, he only had 15 points, 4 for 16 field goal percentage as a center. So it's not that great. Um, so it's not Gobert that needs to step it up. It's everybody, especially Edwards. Like, we cut him some slack with the last series because, he was still being impressive facing the former champs. But, you know, it's a new ball game, new series. He needs to step it up if they want a chance to the finals. I really would have liked them to go to the finals, but at the moment, it's not looking good. It looks like it's Mavs for the taking. Um, but we could actually segue this to our predictions for the series. I predicted the Dallas versus Minnesota series last week, and I said uh, I thought Minnesota was gonna win in 6 because I was concerned about Luka and his knee status. Clearly, it's not bothering him anymore because he's been like
Crazy.
dogging the Minnesota Timberwolves. So, uh, yeah, technically, I could still be right, and as long as the
Yeah, you could.
as long as the Timberwolves win the next 4 in a row, which I doubt would
And that's
happen,
happened before, so who knows? But
it's
it's gonna
definitely
be really
difficult.
hard for
Yeah,
sure.
it'll be hard.
Yeah.
But I said Minnesota in 6 because I believe in their defense. I believed in Anthony Edwards, and I was nervous about Luca's knee. But I do really want to see Luca in the finals. So either way, I would be happy. But right
Yeah.
now, my prediction from last week is not looking good. You were obviously not here last week to give your predictions, but before the series started, who did you believe was gonna win and in how many games?
Yeah. Honestly, I believe that the Timberwolves are gonna win as well. I actually predicted it to go to the length again in 7 games, like the Denver series. But this time with the Wolves winning game 7 at home as opposed to on the road. And as you mentioned, not looking very good right now. And it can still happen, obviously, if like everything were to go in the Wolves' favor. But right now, unfortunately for them, the Mavs have just absolutely been in the driver's seat. Me personally, who do I want winning this series? I think I also do want the Timberwolves to win, but I would be happy either way. I mean, I do like the Mavs team also. I mean, like, And in the past, I'm not a fan of that franchise because of Mark Cuban always talking smack on the Lakers due to jealousy. But if we're talking about like the actual team itself, I like that team. And that's in large part due to Luca, of course. Obviously, Kyrie was a pretty cool comeback story also after all those distractions that he caused in Brooklyn and even Boston, honestly. Pretty much ever since he left Cleveland, he wasn't the same. But until this season, honestly, he's looking like the best he's been since 2016. And shout out to him. But at this moment, it looks like the Mavs are in command. If I were to make a prediction on what would happen based on what has already happened so far, I would say probably Mavs would win it in six, if because like I do expect the Wolves to win a few, and then maybe the Mavs continue their trend. Mavs in six, Mavs in six, Mavs in six. Kind of like Lakers in five during their 2020 run until Danny Green missed that shot in Game Five. But slight slightly off topic. Yeah, series is definitely not over yet. As we mentioned earlier, in the Timberwolves last series, they won a lot of road games. They can do the same here. It's not going to be easy, but never say never with that team. But obviously, as mentioned also, um, Ant and those other guys overall do need to step up and find a way to like slightly slow down Luca and Kyrie. Because Luca making all those incredible moves while banged up is very impressive. Like you could not tell that he's banged up if you didn't know about the situation already. But yeah, um, I think it shall be interesting to see what comes ahead in that series, and it'll be fun.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
I believe that would be a good transition for us to now go over the Eastern Conference Finals.
More
Um,
like the Eastern
starting.
Conference Finals, am I right?
Yep, you're right. Um, and starting with Game One. It was a really shifty game.
Mm-hmm.
Celtics jumped out to a fast start and go up double digits early. Then the Pacers stormed back and took a brief lead in the third. Then the Celtics regained their lead and went up by 13. But in the fourth, Pacers go back on a run. And in the fourth, it looked like it was going to be a sure win for the Pacers. Maybe they were going to steal one in Boston. And then I don't know what the hell happened. Like, that was an inexcusable loss for the Pacers, bro. Like, I don't know how to. I don't know what to say, honestly. Like, I feel like probably any other team could have found a way to win that game. Like, I mean, like, even the horrible teams, if they would have had, like, better common sense coaching, like, come on now. But anyhow, inexcusable turnovers led to the Pacers' horrific collapse at the end of game one. So, for context, pretty much they were up three with 37 seconds left. Tatum bricked the three, and the Pacers looked like they were in great shape. But then the next offensive possession, Tyrese throws a horrible pass out of bounds, and that gave the Celtics the ball back, unfortunately. And then on offense, Derek White misses a layup. Then off the rebound, Tatum misses another jumper. Surely up three with just 12 seconds left. The Pacers should be safe, right? I mean, like, probably the Celtics have to foul at this point. Inexcusably not, unfortunately. Nembhard, he also threw the ball out of bounds. And, like, credit to Jaylen Brown for the great defense. But, like, come on, man. You gotta understand the situations. Like, hold on to the ball. I mean, like, obviously he stripped it as he was trying to get it, but like, maybe make a safer pass or something like that. So then, unfortunately, Celtics get one last shot, and Jaylen Brown makes a miracle three-pointer to force overtime. So then, in overtime, um,
Right, I
teams
do
traded
have a
scores.
question about that shot. if you don't mind me asking. But a
Yeah,
lot of
go ahead.
people, including LeBron James, said that Siakam should have fouled Jalen Brown on that three. I'm assuming, hoping that the foul would affect the shot, make sure that it doesn't go in, and Jalen Brown would have to shoot three free throws in order to tie the game instead of 1-3. What's your take on that? Because I'm no expert,
Yeah.
even though I host a basketball podcast, but uh, I do kind of see that point, but it's also scary to like possibly cause a 4 point play as well. So,
Yeah.
what are your
Um,
thoughts on whether or not Siakam should have fouled Jalen
I
Brown on that
must
three?
I must say this. What should have happened was they lock down the Celtics and Jalen Brown entirely to the point that they don't get a shot off. So that way he only shoots two free throws instead of three. But unfortunately, Siakam did not get there in time, and Jalen Brown was already in the act of shooting. In that sense, no, I don't think he should have fouled. Because as you mentioned, it could have been a 4 point play. It could have lost in regulation right then and right there. But aside from that, there was absolutely no excuse for the Pacers to lose this game, knowing all circumstances. Like, I was like slightly tracking that score while I was like doing stuff out in China. It was like 12 seconds left. I thought for sure the Pacers were gonna win when I saw that they got the ball back like via rebound. And then I saw that Celtics tied it. I'm like, what the fuck happened? I was like pissed for sure as a Lakers fan. Um, but yeah, in overtime, the teams traded baskets to start. Like I believe what happened was Pacers scored the first three, then the Celtics scored like something score basket, and then Tyrese got fouled on a three and got three free throws, drained all of them. Tatum gets fouled on and one and puts the Celtics back up one. And then from there, disaster for the Pacers. Missed a lot of costly shots late, and this was just an absolutely excruciating, inexcusable choke job in game one by the Pacers. Um, when Reggie Miller did the choke to the Knicks when the Knicks choked against the Pacers, unfortunately, they deserved that this time.
I
And
can't
I
agree
hate that
more.
it had to happen against the Celtics. Yeah, I hate that it happened against the Celtics, but that's on them, honestly. Like, no excuses. That was a very bad loss for the Pacers. Um, Anything you want to add on to that game one for these two teams?
Add on, not necessarily. Like, you kind of summed it up well. My main thing was like that Siakam and Jalen Brown play, but we kind of went over
Yeah,
that. And again, as you mentioned, it
yeah,
was a disappointing choke job. Like the Pacers, like
definitely.
spoiler alert, I thought the Celtics were gonna sweep the Pacers going into the series, but that game, like you kind of thought maybe the Pacers got are better than we thought. Maybe the Pacers are able to take the first game from the Celtics. Maybe I am wrong, and I hope and prayed that I was wrong, and the Pacers were gonna take the win, and then Jalen Brown ties the game. The Celtics destroy in overtime, and this is all after the Pacers choke the game, choke the lead.
Horrible.
So
Yeah.
yeah, horrible outcome for us Lakers fans, for Pacers fans as well, obviously. Um, and it did not look any better in game two, as I'm assuming you're gonna let us know right now.
Yeah. So to start game two, Pacers look like they're really hungry to tie up the series. I mean, they had a good start, led almost the entire first quarter. Second quarter though, they just went cold out of nowhere. And the Celtics took advantage to build a lead of their own. Then the Pacers they showed heart and 0-2 was in two early in the third, and unfortunately, everything went downhill from there. Tyrese went down, and from that point on, the Pacers just didn't really stand a chance. Celtics blew the game open in the fourth, and this was a horrible loss for the Pacers. Now finding themselves down 2-0, going back home. I mean, obviously, this game was a blowout, which is blowouts are not good. But like knowing that they didn't really have a real chance to win it at the end, I guess it was definitely a more understandable loss than game one. And then knowing the Tyrese injury, things were looking really dark for the Pacers, unfortunately. And Pacers were had been perfect at home through the first two rounds versus the Bucks and the Knicks, and they would have to do that this series probably to try to find a way to come back. Will they though? We'll mention in a second. But Memo, any additional thoughts on game two before we transition to game three?
Okay, not really. Like it was a blowout. What can I say? It was a blowout. But by far the biggest story from this game, well, it doesn't even have to do with basketball. It has to do with Tyrese Halliburton getting injured, having to not be able to play for the rest of the game, and not being able to play in game three, which was definitely unfortunate. The Pacers definitely needed him out there, but they held their ground for a bit. Honestly, like they didn't do too bad. They were actually winning for most of the game, but um, I'll have you go over the rundown, because you're usually pretty good at that. But they did surprisingly well, even though they did not have their best player on their team. I'll say that.
That's true. And I watched most of the second half, not really the first half, but I did view the recap. And pretty much what happened was Celtics jumped out to a lead early in the first, but then the Pacers were able to take control in the second to go up 12 at the half. And then the Celtics pulled to within 9 at the end of the third. Unfortunately, this was where disaster struck again for the Pacers. So another late game gag. Um, Pacers up 5 with 126 left. Horford makes the three. The pull was in two for Celtics. And okay, Pacers try to score another basket, go up two possessions. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. Following possession for the Pacers, Pascal Siakam missed a tough layup. And then running down the court, Drew Holiday gets an and one to put the Celtics up by one with 39 seconds left. Bad foul there, because that put them down. But anyhow, next Pacers possession. Nembhard misses a shot. The Celtics have the ball with 32 seconds. Pacers do not have to foul yet. And they actually do pretty good on defense. They force Jason Tatum to miss the layup. But then on the following possession for the Pacers on offense, man. So, context, off the rebound, Rick Carlisle decides not to call timeout, which I'm not mad at, honestly. I mean, like, sometimes it's good to let the teams keep the momentum going off a missed basket. I mean, if they run it properly, it could almost be like a fast break. But unfortunately, wasn't the case. So, after forcing the Tatum miss, the Pacers run the ball down to try to take advantage on a possible fast break light possession. And unfortunately, they just turned the ball over. That's reminiscent of what happened in game one. Really bad, poor execution. Then the next play. This time the Pacers have to foul. And Drew Holiday gets sent to the line, who was not having a very great game up until the fourth quarter, honestly. But he showed up very big at the end, and he knocked down both free throws. So now that leaves the Pacers with 1 second left to try to potentially tie the game and force overtime. But this time they do call timeout. Unfortunately, trying to tie, Aaron Nesmith shoots a three in the corner, and it just bounces short. So there we have another unacceptable loss by the Pacers. Horrible coaching display by the Pacers in these late game situations. Rick Carlisle is historically a really good head coach, but I don't know what's going on with him like this series. Like, bro, how do you guys make those mistakes? Come on, man, discipline. But yeah, Pacers season is now on life support. Unfortunately, it is not officially over yet, but as of now, it barring some massive miracle by the Pacers, it looks like as if the Celtics will be clinching a spot in the NBA Finals very soon. And I saw a tweet earlier that was very, very sadly accurate. I believe he might actually be like an LA reporter for like the Lakers or something on Twitter or something. But this is what he said, okay? And honestly, he absolutely like he was not wrong. So here's the tweet. The Pacers are like 30 seconds of the dumbest basketball imaginable from being up 2-1 in this series. Good lord. Honestly, he couldn't have said it any better. Like they literally should be up 2-1 right now, and that's excruciating because now they're potentially on the verge of getting swept. And see what happens with Tyrese if he can play next game. Maybe it's not even worth it, honestly. And they put up a good fight today without him, so maybe they'll be okay and still be competitive without him. But like, come back and win the series, very tall task. But was there anything that I did not mention that you would like to add on for Game Three of the Eastern Conference Finals?
Not much. Just like I agree that Drew Holiday wasn't looking the best, but he definitely came through in the fourth quarter and had that giant, not giant, but like that very big important steal from Nemhard, who was having a really good game. Andrew Nemhard had a playoff career high 32 points. He had a pretty good game, but unfortunately, cookies. Drew Holiday took that, and um, that was basically the end of the game. I did as much as like, yeah, the coaching from the Pacers have been questionable. That final play to get Nemhard open for three, I believe it was Nemhard who shot that. That was pretty
Um,
interesting. A
the
pretty
final
interesting
play,
play.
yeah, it was Aaron Nesmith who shot it.
Oh, Neesmith. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, it was a very interesting formation. It was kind of like a football formation,
That's
like
what I was
wide
gonna say.
receivers lining up. Yeah, that's what the commentators said. And yeah, I mean, like they could have had a chance, but unfortunately, that shot did not fall,
Yeah,
and
Neesmith got open
Pacers
from
got
that play, but unfortunately, it was
yeah.
a miss. It happens.
Yeah, so Pacers, they did not shoot well from three at all this game, but they did score 68 paint points, I believe. So that's what kept them in it. And obviously, they should have won. They didn't. And now the season is very, 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 like a bad position for them. But I believe that would be a good segue for us to go over what I know you already said it earlier, like what your
Yeah,
original prediction was. Yeah,
yeah,
you said that you predicted the Celtics to sweep the Pacers, and
right.
that means it's
Because
time for me.
I had
Yeah.
less hope in the Pacers with Tyrese Halliburton compared to the Cavs with Donovan Mitchell or the Heat. Even though the Heat didn't have Jimmy Butler, I had more faith in them getting one win on the Celtics rather than the Pacers with a healthy roster getting a win. As much as I like the Pacers, they just lack so much defense, and they're not that battle tested. So Yeah, I expected a sweep, and it might actually happen, which is unfortunate. But what was
Unfortunate.
your
Yeah.
prediction going into this series?
Yeah, so actually, on the contrary to your prediction, I thought that maybe the Pacers could have done better than the Cavs and the Heat did versus the Celtics, only because that they were healthy before Tyrese went down. And it looked like it could have happened, like game one when they had a chance to win, and even game three. But unfortunately, not looking like it was meant to be. Um, Originally, I actually predicted Indiana to like take at least one game, maybe even two. Who knows? But definitely, I knew that it was a long shot that they would win the series. Like or in order for them to win the series, they would have to remain perfect at home and then steal one road game, or if they miraculously like won both road games, which obviously wasn't going to happen, unfortunately. Um, Now though, it's hard for me to say because the Pacers have been like pretty competitive for the most part, just aside from game two. So I wouldn't be surprised if they won the next game at home, game four. But if so, probably Boston would wrap it up in game five back at home. And
The Pacers are a really good home team, so maybe that'll help you out.
they
Because
are,
before game
yeah,
three, they were undefeated in the playoffs at
perfect.
home. Uh,
Yep.
so
And
maybe they'll take game four. We'll see.
unfortunately, the Celtics are also ironically undefeated on the road, 7
Yeah,
and 0. So,
I forgot about that part, but yeah, you're right. You're
horrible.
right.
Yeah. But you know what? I'll just be nice and say Pacers win game four. And fortunately, I don't have much faith from there. I'm going to say the Celtics are going to win in 5 games and keep that streak alive. But I would not be shocked if they swept them, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, very, very unfortunate series to watch as Lakers
Yeah,
fans.
bro, the Boston
Like, I think,
Celtics has had such an easy road to the finals, which obviously, like for a first seed, that should happen. But this is
yeah,
easier than like anything that we
I was going to
probably would have
say,
expected.
yeah, I was going to say, this is what you call the real Mickey Mouse run, okay?
A hundred
Like,
percent.
cut all that cut all that slack on the Lakers 2020 season, cut all that slack on the Bucks 2021 season. Like at least those teams, they beat some good teams that at least had some of their superstars playing, like all all or the majority of the series. But for the Celtics, like no Jimmy Butler at all, 1-5. Donovan Mitchell played in like 2.5 games, only 1-5. In this series, Tyrese Halliburton got hurt too, and they're easily cruising, even though they really could be down 2-1, which is kind of sad knowing that they should be a lot better than that team. But unfortunately, wins a win, so credit to them for finishing at the end. Um, but yeah, unfortunately, it looks like we are going to have to hope and pray that one of those Western Conference teams, Timberwolves or Mavs, can find a way to beat the Celtics in the finals because it looks like the Celtics are going to go to the finals, and that is very, very horrible. Come on, bro.
Fuck the Celtics.
Yeah, fuck Boston. I hope and pray that no serious injuries for whoever makes the finals in the West. Please let the Celtics play a team at full strength, and I guarantee you, like even if the Celtics end up winning the championship, they're gonna have to work for it against a healthy team with those superstars. Regardless, I think like if Minnesota wins, their defensive bigs are going to make the Celtics work too because um, I think a good time to talk about like those matchups in the regular season could come in like when we do the preview of the finals with more depth. But just like a brief like overview in the regular season, the Timberwolves and the Celtics tied 1-1, and both games went into overtime with the home team winning. And then for the Mavs and the Celtics won both games. First game in Dallas was 9 points, and then the Boston game was a blowout. They won by like 30. But both of those games were before the Mavs got going. Like the last one game was in February and one was in March 1st, I believe. So like Mavs are a completely different team, and maybe those teams will match up better. And cool little revenge story there too if that happens. Like obviously Kyrie versus Celtics, of course Zingis if he's back versus the Mavs. But yeah, we'll talk about that in more depth in the next episode probably whenever the finals matchup has been revealed. But yeah, I believe that is a wrap on our Eastern Conference I mean our conference finals overview so far, which brings us to a good segue to our NBA awards. Both we're gonna compare and contrast the actual winners versus our original predictions.
Yeah, so we made sure to have our final predictions before the NBA playoffs. I believe it was episode 15 we did that. So if you haven't checked out that episode, go do that. But yeah, we made our final predictions for all the awards and for the All NBA, All Defensive, and All Rookie teams. So now that they've all been announced, we thought it'd be a good time to go through them. And let's do that by going over Coach of the Year, which is probably the one that we definitely got right from the beginning. Like, literally before the season started, when we did the pre-season predictions for these awards, we thought that Mark Dagnott was gonna win because we had a feeling OKC were gonna do amazing this year, and they not only did they do amazing, but they surpassed our expectations. So Mark Dagnott ended up being named the 2023-2024 Coach of the Year. Under Mark Dagnott leadership, OKC became the youngest team to finish first in either conference. So uh, I'm very happy that I got that right. Even before the season started, I predicted it. How do you feel knowing that you predicted this before the season started as well?
I will say really well deserved. OKC had obviously, as you mentioned, the number one seed in the Western Conference and in a stacked Western Conference. I mean, like they were going neck and neck with the Timberwolves and the Nuggets, and they found a way to finish above those two teams. So credit to them. Obviously, they did not get as far as they would have liked in the playoffs, but they still had a pretty successful season. And honestly, I think this team will only be getting better from here. They're young, they have a really good head coach, and they have some they have a superstar in SGA. Maybe they'll get a few more superstars once those other young players develop further. So I'm definitely pretty excited for OKC's future and a well-deserved award win by Mark Dagnall.
Yeah, definitely well deserved. Well deserved. And then the next award I want to talk about is Rookie of the Year, which is also something that we both predicted, not only in episode 15, but in our preseason prediction video. We predicted that Victor Wembanyama was gonna win it, and it was definitely the safe choice, but he did not prove anybody wrong. Like, he proved that he was gonna be Rookie of the Year. So Spurs stand out. Victor Wembanyama named 2023-2024 NBA Rookie of the Year. A unanimous winner, Wembanyama becomes the third Spurs player to claim rookie honors, joining David Robinson and Tim Duncan. Some very, very notable, what's the word? Um, peers to be compared to, I guess. So obviously
That's good.
he was awesome. Like, I've definitely been glazing him all season because like the things that he was able to do, like the near quadruple doubles, the 5x5s, being able to get multiple games where he blocks like 10 blocks in a game, uh, his flashy play, the way he is definitely the number one guy for the Spurs, which we can't say about Chet, who was probably second place. Um,
Yeah.
he's not the number one guy on the team, so even though his team is better, he doesn't impact the team as much as Victor. So for me, this was a clear W. This was uh, well deserved for Wemby. Uh, how do you feel?
I believe it was also the safe pick and the obvious pick. And obviously, he did not disappoint one bit with his crazy multiple block performances. He can shoot as a big man also, and also explosive dunks.
He's got
Really, the only
handles.
thing that was missing, yeah, the only thing that was really missing from his rookie season is that the Spurs were not winning games. But aside from that, he had a great rookie campaign, and I do think the Spurs will get better next season, especially pending what happens in free agency. Maybe if they could try to find a way to trade for one of those Hawks superstars like Trey Young or DeJounte Murray or someone else. I don't know, not a superstar, but maybe they want to try to get D'Angelo Russell. I mean, that could help them for sure, knowing that the team is didn't win a lot. They can't get any worse. But yeah, I think the Spurs will be better, and Wemby will continue to do his thing, and I expect to see them in the playoffs very soon. Like even if they don't make it next year, I think there's a very good chance the Spurs will make it the following year. But yeah, shout out to Wemby for not disappointing and doing his job. Obviously, when you're that good of a player, you're gonna get a lot of glazers from fans. So like, it makes sense, honestly. Like obviously, he's probably like the most hyped pre-draft prospect since LeBron James. So for good reason, because like he was doing a lot of crazy stuff that we don't really see from any past players. So yeah, um, well deserved for sure for Victor Wembanyama winning the Rookie of the Year for 2023-24.
Yeah. Now moving on, we got sixth man of the year, which we both ended up getting incorrectly. I thought it was gonna be Malik Monk, but unfortunately, I guess his injury towards the end of the season affected the voting there. He did get second
Yeah.
place. Well, who did you believe was gonna win it?
I also thought that Malik Monk was gonna win.
Oh, you
And
did? Okay.
honestly, I thought that he was, yeah. And honestly, I did think that he was on his way to winning it if he didn't get injured. But unfortunately, I guess he missed too many games at the end, so he didn't
Actually,
qualify. Maybe
this is the weird part to
he
me.
did it.
He played enough games, but I believe uh, since he missed the last few, that affected like the voters uh, who were judging. He was really close though. I'm looking at
I
the
think so too.
voting results,
Yeah.
and he had 43 first place, 39 second, 10 third, and the winner had 45 first place, 39 second, and 10 third. So almost the exact same, except the winner ended up having two more first place votes, and the winner was Nas Reed, who for some reason I didn't even think about when I was
Me
trying to
either.
think about six man of the year, but now like hindsight 2020, yeah, this was a obvious like good pick. I still probably would have picked
Yeah.
Malik Monk, but this was well deserved.
Yeah.
Like
Same.
Nas Reed has had an impactful um, season for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Uh, Timberwolves center forward Nas Reed, best Malik Monk and Bobby Portis to take home the John Mavlicek Trophy. And I believe this was the first time any Timberwolves player has won Six Man of the Year. So, as much as I did want Malik Monk to win it, and that's who I predicted. I am very glad that Nas Reed won it. What about you?
Me too. And honestly, I also didn't think about Nas Reed as six-man candidate. And I feel like maybe the reason is because we maybe thought that he was starting. That could be all I was thinking. I mean, like
Well, I
because like Cat was
guess
injured for a lot,
yeah,
so I
that's
don't know
true.
what they
He
did.
did start a lot. That's a good point. Another
Yeah,
reason why I didn't really think about him is because this award usually goes to like high scoring guards, I guess.
yeah, true.
And Reed wasn't really high scoring. He averaged, or I guess his career average is 13.5 points, 5.2 rebounds, which isn't crazy numbers, but when you see him play, you know he impacts the game every time he comes off the bench or starts when Cat is injured. So, uh, yeah, I guess it was a very casual way of thinking, uh, uh, focusing on solely the points, because Nas Reed does impact the game in a major way, even if he's not scoring like 20 points a game off the bench. So, congrats to him.
Right on. Yeah, he definitely deserved it a lot. And I don't know what exactly are the specifics of like if there's like a maximum number of games that a player can start to win this award. Maybe not, but
I feel like there should be.
nonetheless, I feel like there should be too. But nonetheless, him doing what only he could control, he had a really great season.
He
So I
did.
am happy for him. I am a Nas Reed fan.
I feel like everybody is.
And
He has a
I mean,
huge
like,
fan
how could
base.
you not be? Yeah, he looks cool. He's
Hmm.
a big that can shoot threes and play defense. Like, he is very
He's
good.
got
He's the
it
type of
all.
player that I wish, yeah, he's the type of guy I wish we could have on our team. But yeah, like, um, because like the Lakers have a lot of Timberwolves players. Um, so welcome aboard if you like, but he probably doesn't, unfortunately, because that team is better than us right now.
Please
Um,
join the
but
Minnesota
yeah,
Lakers.
yeah, Minnesota Lakers. Oh, by the way, on that topic, did you see that D'Lo put up a tweet, Minnesota Lakers? It was him, Vando, and Torian Prince, like off coming off the plane this season in Lakers gear. But since then, the Timberwolves have not won a game. It's crazy, man.
I saw that post, but I never. I forget. I didn't put those two together. I didn't realize that they haven't won a game since that post.
Yeah, my guess is he put that after they beat the Nuggets in Game 7. I'm not
Yeah,
sure,
yeah.
probably, but yeah, still. I don't know if that superstition is really the reason why they lost, but we'll see what happens going forward. But to go back on topic, definitely well deserved award there, and I believe that would be a good segue to our next award, which is um how we go over the most improved player award.
Yeah, let's go over that one, which I felt like was a two-man race towards the end versus
It
Tyrese
was.
Maxey and Kobe White. My final prediction
Yeah.
was Tyrese Maxey. Was that the same for you?
Honestly, I had like a really hard time picking this one because my
Really?
original pick was Scotty Barnes. Obviously he didn't have a very great sophomore season, and he looked more like his rookie self this year, although his team obviously wasn't very good. But I did have Tyrese as the runner up, and I think that honestly it was accurate at the end, being a two-man race between Tyrese and Kobe. I mean, I included Kobe on my list also. Um, but at the end of the day, I do think that Tyrese deserves this. He had a really good bounce back season, especially with Embiid out for like a good chunk of the season and the Sixers needing someone to step up. Tyrese proved that he was that guy. And obviously the Sixers did lose a lot of games during that stretch. dropping from, I believe they were the second or third seed before Embiid got hurt, and then they dropped to seventh, which is quite a slide. But like a player of that impact, it's kind of makes sense that you will slide in the standings unless you have like a very well built team that they just could win without those superstars. And I know there have been some in the past that were like that, but unfortunately the Sixers just weren't really built like that. And credit to them, they still found a way to make the playoffs. It gave the Knicks a pretty tough fight. A few games could have went their favor that didn't, and unfortunately led to a first round exit for them. But overall, in hindsight, he did what he could. So I think that um, Tyrese Maxey definitely deserved this award, and I'm happy for him for sure.
Yeah, the fourth year guard set career highs in scoring, assists, and steals while making his first All Star game. I am very surprised he thought it was gonna go to Scotty Barnes. I thought we were both rooting for Tyrese. Uh, in
Yeah, I believe that I gave Scotty the edge because I think it was because that I felt like what he did was like a little bit more impressive. I don't remember like what exactly I thought he was more impressive at, honestly. Maybe the fact that maybe the fact that like he had, honestly I don't remember, but I think it was mostly because of the fact that Scotty Barnes didn't do very good last year. But Tyrese was already pretty good last year. Now obviously Tyrese got a lot better this year. I just felt like Scotty probably like had a bigger difference in the sense that his sophomore year was that disappointing that he just did a lot better, like his rookie self again. But definitely I was very neck and neck between those two.
yeah, Scotty was even in the voting results. Like Tyrese was
Yeah.
first,
And the
Kobe
shout
White was second, Sengun was third, Jalen Williams was fourth, Jalen Brunson was fifth, and I could keep going, but
yeah.
yeah, Scotty's not even
I'm
in the
shocked.
list, which is crazy.
Yeah, but I'm shocked that Shengun qualified because he missed a lot of games late. Um, maybe he didn't miss like what was it again? Like 15, 17. You have to play at least 65 games or something.
65 games, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if he maybe he barely didn't reach 65. I don't know, but yeah, I didn't really think Shengun was gonna win it because of the injury, and obviously he didn't. But I think he was a little bit closer than I expected. He did have a good season before the injury though, so I'm not mad.
He did. He did. But yeah, let's move on to Clutch Player of the Year, which I thought was going to go to DeMar DeRozan. He had several impactful games during clutch time. The Bulls had a pretty good record when it comes to games that end up in clutch time, and DeRozan just like seems to always come through. He's always pretty clutch, so I thought it was gonna go to him. Who did you think was gonna win it? Because I feel like we had different predictions for
Um,
this one, if I remember
yeah,
correctly.
I think I actually predicted Steph to win it, but I
And
did think that it was like a little bit neck and neck.
yeah, I
Ultimately, I think
believed it
I
was neck and neck, but Steph ended up winning, so
yeah.
you ended up being correct.
Mhm. And I think that I definitely went with like the I don't know if you call it safer pick because I think that they're both really close, but I think you can call it more of like the popular pick because like Steph is like the mega superstar and then DeRozan is more of like a superstar but like on the edge of superstar and regular star type. So, yeah, definitely I knew it was going to be one of those two. My gut said Steph because the bigger name, and turns out I was right, but it was indeed really close.
Yeah, it was pretty close. Stephen Curry finished first in points, 189, made field goals, 59, and made 3 pointers, 32 in the clutch this season. So numbers don't lie. Um, Steph was very clutch. DeRozan ended up being in second, and Shea in third for the voting. I did really want DeMar to win it though, because before this award became a thing, he had that one year where he scored like 3 game winners in like 3 weeks, which was crazy.
Yeah,
So I thought, and especially since this guy hasn't won really anything in the league, might as well give
yeah,
him this like made up award.
right.
And unfortunately, he couldn't win it. It was given to Steph. But shout out to DeRozan. Shout out to
Yeah,
Steph. Um, Definitely well deserved.
definitely. Definitely shout out to Lamar. He's kind of been the man of bad luck a lot. I mean, obviously we know the story about the Raptors winning the championship right after they traded him. And then now this. And then of course the Bulls, like they're an okay team, but they were always really injury riddled, so they were only technically contending one time when they made the playoffs the first year they got together. Um Tough luck for Lamar, but I am a fan of his and I think that he had a great season and he very well could have won. Unfortunately, didn't, but no shame to him. He'll continue to do his thing. And we'll see if he either gets traded to a better team or if the Bulls can just get better.
I doubt they're gonna get better, but that's a conversation for another day. Let's move on
Yeah,
to
honestly, they did better than I expected. I thought they were gonna be one of the bottom feeders in the league, and they actually made the play-in tournament, which obviously isn't really an accomplishment crazy, but like I didn't expect them to even be in the play-in. But yeah, um, moving on to our next award.
Defensive
Um,
Player of the Year, which by
yep.
the end of the season, we kind of realized that it was going to be given to Rudy Gobert. That was my final
Yeah.
prediction. I believe that was yours as well, right?
It was my prediction.
And he
I
ended up
wanted,
winning it.
yeah, I would have liked if like AD won it
Me
or even
too.
Wemby, but I figured it was gonna be Rudy
The
Gobert,
fact that Anthony
and
Davis wasn't
he
even
deserves it.
top three is outrageous. In voting,
It
like
is
he
like,
ended up being in fourth, which is good. But like some would say he was the defensive player of the year. So how was he not in
yeah,
the top three? I think that's crazy.
yeah, it is crazy. I think he should have for sure been top three. And like obviously a lot of times AD didn't qualify because he didn't play enough games. This season he was healthy throughout the season, and yet disrespectful voting. They did he did not vote him third even. Um,
Yeah, it
so obviously,
and it's crazy
like
because
Bam
like
Adebayo,
sorry, but like
he had a good defense. Oh, good.
uh, it's crazy because the reason why Anthony Davis doesn't get the respect he deserves, even though he's been playing, is because the Lakers' defense hasn't been the greatest. But it's not like the Spurs' defense was the greatest. So I don't know why uh, Wemby ended up in the top three, but not Anthony Davis.
That's
Oh,
true.
well, I guess to devil's advocate, Wemby did have some crazy numbers, having a lot more steals and blocks than most of the NBA, but still, I feel like it's a little hypocritical that Anthony Davis has never won a defensive player of the year because his teams haven't been the best on defense. But now this rookie who I love, I think he will be a phenomenal defender, is top three, even though his team wasn't the best on defense. So it's a little hypocritical. But yeah, what were you gonna say before I rudely interrupted?
All good. I was gonna say like to the viewers who don't know, the guy who did have third place over AD was Bam Adebayo. And obviously, he is a really good defensive player, and he did his thing this year. But I just feel like AD had the more impressive season, honestly. I mean, like both of them are. former Kentucky Wildcats that did really good in college, and both of them obviously doing their job here now. Both of them have made finals appearances. Obviously, AD winning one and Bam making two, which he unfortunately lost. But like both guys have accomplished a lot. But I do believe that honestly, AD did do a little bit more to deserve the top three over Bam.
Yeah, I feel like you could trust AD uh, with a lot more defensive assignments, even though he isn't like a superstar perimeter defender. As you mentioned earlier in this podcast, we've seen him lock up Steph in clutch time moments. So
Yeah,
I'd rather have AD than Gobert, uh, Bam, or Wemby. Honestly, if we're talking about defense, uh, more versatile
honestly, yeah,
defense. But
true that. I
it
mean,
is
like
what it is.
obviously we saw how Gobert like was having a hard time guarding Luca
Yeah,
in that
got
late game
cooked.
situation, and yeah, obviously a lot will, but I feel like AD clearly he would have contested it because we saw what he did to Steph. But but well, as you were saying before, I sorry, cut you off.
No worries. Um, well, yeah, shout out to Gobert though. Like, he becomes the third player in NBA history to win the award 4 times, joining Dikembe Mutombo and Ben Wallace. So that is some great company to be a part of. I think this kind of solidifies his chances in making the Hall of Fame because those two guys are in the Hall of Fame. So I wouldn't be surprised if Rudy joins them someday. And yeah, he is the leader of the best defense in the NBA. So it kind of made sense to be given to him this award, of course. I just would love to see Anthony Davis win one of these one day, and it might not happen. So, as
Yeah,
a Lakers fan, as a Anthony Davis fan, I am salty, but this award did
me too.
clearly deserve. Was Gobert definitely
Yeah,
deserved it? Is what I was trying to say.
yeah, I agree. And as you mentioned several episodes ago, probably episode 15, whenever we made our predictions, um, it's definitely a concern of mine also if AD could be like another Tim Duncan that somehow didn't win it somehow didn't win a defensive player of the year when clearly deserving to win at least one or two. Hopefully he does, but unfortunately with all these other like shot blockers that maybe the media seems to think is more fun to watch, it seems like he might be getting robbed a few more times, possibly. I hope not, but we'll see.
Yeah, I will see. But I guess this now leads us to the MVP award, which by the end of the season was. I felt like it was no question going to be Nikola Jokic. Like, I thought this was his award. And you believe the same thing, right?
Yeah, I did. However, I when OKC gained the first seed, I kind of thought maybe the media would use that as an excuse due to voters' fatigue.
Mm.
And honestly, I was rooting for Shea to win it because like I like Jokic as a player a lot, but I do like to see someone new win also. And I think that SGA had a really good case this season, and so did Luca. Except obviously his team wasn't high enough seed. Um, but I do believe that if we're talking best overall player, it was for sure Nikola Jokic. So well deserved, and who knows? Maybe voters fatigue will finally get to the voters, but
It
we'll see what
probably
happens
will,
going
especially
forward.
after the second round exit. I think he's done winning MVPs from here on out. But yeah,
I agree. And honestly, like I think he was more deserving of winning it last year than this year, maybe because obviously last year was a pity MVP for Joel Embiid,
yeah,
who
I
did really
agree.
good. But Jokic was the better player last year, So I was kind of confused. Like they did a pity MVP last year. Why not find a way to do it this year? But who knows? Maybe going forward they will pity the hell out of that guy to never win another MVP.
Yeah, but yeah, it says here Denver's talented center becomes just the ninth player in NBA history to win three or more Kia MVPs. And let's do a little trivia. Do you know the um the other NBA players that have won three or more MVPs?
This is gonna be tough. I'm gonna say for I know for sure LeBron James is one of them.
LeBron won
Um,
four, yeah.
yeah. And then this is where I kind of am a little bit stumped on the others. I'm gonna say Kareem.
Kareem, he won six. He has
Okay,
the most.
okay, cool. MJ, he won
He won five.
three, five. Okay, so now let's see. There's six more players, right?
Not in.
Oh wait, actually no, five because
Yeah,
not
yeah,
including Jokic.
yeah.
Um, yeah. Let's see. So three or more, right?
Yes.
Did Steph win? Steph won three, right?
No, he's won two.
Two, yeah. I knew he won two or three. I forgot which. Um, let's see. Who else? I don't know. Like, did Wilt Chamberlain, or was that even a th award
Will
back then?
Will Chamberlain won four.
Okay, so okay, so we listed five players, including Jokic now, so four more. Okay, let's see. Bill Russell.
Bill Russell won five.
Okay. Did Jerry West win over?
Not Jerry West, but another famous white guy won three.
Oh, another famous white guy. Let's see. Um, I don't think Steve Nash won three, right? I think he probably won two.
He won two. A different white guy.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Um, let's see. Who is another very elite white guy? I'm trying to think. Um, hmm. I'm trying to think. This guy probably played like a few decades ago, would be my guess personally.
Yup.
Um, okay. Um, hmm. I think I'm gonna have to come back to the white guy one.
Okay.
Okay, so there's three guys I didn't name,
Yeah, three left. Three left.
three left. Okay, let's see. Um, definitely not Jason Kidd, right?
No, I don't think he's won one.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Um, I don't know why I'm blanking out on another very elite white dude. I mean, no, Jason Kidd is mixed, but like, let's see. Um, hmm. Let me think real quick. Oh, did Hakeem Olajuwon win over three?
No, he's not in the list.
Oh, okay. Um, Shaquille O'Neal.
No, I believe he only has one.
Okay. Um, let's see. Hmm. Patrick Ewing? I don't think so, but
Nope.
no. Let's see then. Oh, okay. I don't think he won three, but Duncan, he won definitely a few, right?
Tim Duncan did not win three.
Yeah. Um.
I feel like two of these, including the white guy, should be pretty obvious. Uh,
Okay.
and then
Let me
one
think.
one of them is the last guy is pretty. I think it's kind of hard. I would have.
Okay.
I would not have thought of him.
All right. Let me think then. Um. So two more guys that I did not list. Um. Did Jim Baylor? He
No,
probably did
not
with three
Elgin
M's.
Baylor, but a different Laker is on this list.
Oh, okay. Um. George Mikan.
Dude, no.
Um. Because he was really good back in the day.
He was good, but
Um.
we're talking about Lakers that have more than have at least three MVPs. So if they have at least three
uh-huh.
MVPs, they must be one of the greatest Lakers of all time, right?
I would assume so. Um. Okay. Magic Johnson.
Magic Johnson,
I don't know
yes,
why I
Magic
forgot about him,
Johnson.
honestly.
You'd guess George
Okay.
Mikan before Magic Johnson. That's funny.
I think I forgot like which Lakers I forgot to mention or something, but yeah, I don't know why that took me so long.
Yeah, to be fair,
Okay,
there's a
so
lot
now
of legendary Lakers, so I get that.
yeah. Okay, now I try to guess a
The
very
white guy,
legendary white guy, and I think I finally remember Larry Bird.
Larry Bird. Yes,
Yeah,
he
Larry
won.
Bird, very legend.
He won it 3 years in a row, which is pretty impressive.
Oh, okay.
And then
That is impressive. Yeah, I don't know why I forgot about Larry Bird. I feel
probably the
like once
greatest
I
white guy
remembered,
of all time.
yeah, I think that I finally remembered him because I said Magic and he was Magic's biggest
Hmm.
rival.
Yeah,
But yeah, that definitely shouldn't have taken me so long to guess. Because you said the last guy is a little bit of a more unpredicted guy, I believe I might not get it either. So do you want to just tell me who the last guy is?
Moses Malone.
Ooh, okay.
I didn't
I
know he
mean,
won three
I know he.
MVPs.
I mean, I knew he was really good, but I didn't know he won three. Like, I probably would have guessed Carl Malone before Moses Malone, but I know that Moses was really good.
Yeah, but yeah,
But
that was a good attempt. That was not too bad.
yeah.
Um, a bonus mini game, if you will. But yeah, okay, yeah. Shout out to Nikola Jokic for winning MVP. Should we move on to the All NBA team?
Yeah, we can move on to all NBA teams, and we will start out with, um, should we go third, second, then first, or first, second, third?
Let's just do first, second, third. I think that's how we did it during our
All right.
prediction video. So, I believe the first team we predicted it correctly, like 100%, right?
I think so. Yeah. Um, I remember in our predictions, we predicted Luca, Shea, Jason Tatum, Giannis, and Nikola Jokic, and
And
turns
they're
out
all
we
in
were
first
right.
team. Yup, we were all right. Giannis, Luca, Shea,
Yep.
Nikola Jokic, and Jason Tatum are in first seed. We thought they were locks, and apparently the NBA agreed they are locks. What
Yeah.
gets tricky is in the second team. I predicted, let me go back
Yeah.
to my notes, but I thought for second team, it's going to be LeBron, Anthony Davis, Steph, Anthony Edwards, and Kevin Durant. Who did you think was going to be in second team?
I thought it was gonna be Jalen Brunson, Anthony Edwards, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis. And turns out we both had a few good and few wrong.
Yeah, I had only three
I believe
correct.
I was pretty close. Yeah. Just not horrible, honestly. Um, for me, I believe I got everything except I predicted LeBron to make it instead of Kawhi. Um,
But yeah, for second team, I don't think we said it, but Jalen Brunson is in it. Anthony Davis, Kevin Durant, Anthony Edwards, and Kawhi made it into the second team list. So shout out to them.
yeah.
And yeah, I only had three of them correct: LeBron and Steph didn't make it onto the second team. That's who I thought
Mhm.
were gonna make it. I was wrong. And then should we move on to
And so
third team?
I believe it would be a good time to move on to the third team. Um, my predictions originally were Steph Curry, Tyrese Halliburton, Kawhi Leonard, DeMontis Sabonis, and Zion Williamson. And your predictions were
Sabonis, Maxi, Halliburton, Kawhi, and Brunson. And who ended up making it was Devin Booker, Stephen Curry, Tyrese Halliburton, LeBron James, and Domantas Sabonis. We both didn't expect Devin Booker, but I think we both mentioned how he deserved to be on it. But at least for me,
yeah,
I
honorable
was just
mention.
being a hater, so I refused to put him on. But the NBA put him on for good reasons. Like he did have a good season. Um, and yeah, other than that, all the rest of the players, uh, actually not no. Uh, the only player I that didn't make it that I thought was gonna make it was Tyrese Maxey. But Devin Booker over Maxey makes sense, so I'm not too mad about
Yeah.
that.
And for me, the guys that I thought were gonna make it that didn't make it were actually Tyrese Halliburton and Zion Williamson.
Well, Halliburton
Zion
didn't.
was one of those. Oh, he made. Oh, I forgot. My bad. I forgot. Um, so it would be just Zion who didn't make it, I believe.
Yeah. Did he meet the
Yeah, I
game
forgot.
threshold, or do you
I'm not
remember?
sure if he did. No, I don't. But if he didn't, then
That's
that
probably
makes
why.
sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, anything
But I do know that book.
egregious from like? Do you
No,
agree
I
with?
don't think there's anything egregious.
Do you want to know some of the honorable mentions?
Honorable mentions. Sure, go for it.
So the person that was closest to making it that didn't make it was Jalen Brown. After him, it was Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, Rudy Gobert, Victor Wembanyama, Zion Williamson. So he did get some votes. Paulo Banchero, De'Aaron Fox, Bam, and DeMar DeRozan.
Hmm. So I will say, I'm not gonna lie, like I do think that I mean both of the Celtic superstars are definitely a bit overrated. So I don't think that Jalen Brown should be the first guy who didn't qualify. But I do believe that he should have been like up there as an honorable mention.
Yeah,
Um,
especially since the Celtics
but
had a good
overall,
season. Having two
yeah,
players on the All NBA teams would have made sense.
yeah, true. So yeah, overall, nothing too egregious, I will say.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with it. Should we move on to the next team?
Yeah, I believe that would be a good time for us to transition to the next All NBA set, shall we say?
Yeah, the all defensive team, which keep in mind before like we read off the list of players, it is positionless. So we kept that in mind while making our list, but
Yeah,
I know we were kind of still a little conservative with our picks. We still kind of made it make sense as a roster standpoint. But yeah, my predictions were Gobert, Derek Wright, I'm sorry, White, um, Herbert Jones, Shea, and Anthony Davis being on the first team. Um, who did you believe was gonna be in first team?
First team for the all defensive team, I had Jalen Suggs, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Herb Jones, Victor Wembanyama, and Rudy Gobert. Now, when we were making our predictions, I remember both of us really wanted to put AD on first team, but as mentioned earlier, we tried our best to like somewhat consider the positions as well.
Well, I
So
did.
that's why we listed.
I had Anthony Davis in first team. I
Mhm.
ended up having Wemby in second team. But what
Mhm.
actually
So
happened
I guess
in the real first team, it was Bam, Anthony Davis, Rudy Gobert, Victor Wembanyama, so four centers, and Herb Jones as the fifth guy.
yeah. So now we know that positions absolutely don't matter for this award. So yeah, four big lineup,
Yeah,
excluding Herb Jones,
excluding Herb Jones, but I heard some debates
who is
how
also really
he is good. Like, there's a reason why I put him in my first team. But I heard a lot of conversations around this topic about how they shouldn't be doing this because in the past, there were players that deserved to be in first team that did not get first team. They ended up in second because of their
position.
position. So they were kind of mad
Yeah,
that now moving forward, it doesn't matter. It's just the five best in
yeah.
the first
I
team,
feel like
which
I agree, and I feel like
yeah,
they should be a little bit more consistent. Either do that from the start or like don't change it, honestly. And I
yeah,
do think it makes sense for the best ones period to be on the list, but like what took you guys so long? So yeah, I don't blame those guys for being mad, honestly.
yeah. Well said, well said. But
Mhm.
yeah, should we move on to second team?
Yeah, I believe it would be a good segue to the second team. I guess I'll start with my original predictions. I had Derek White, Kawhi Leonard, Jaden McDaniels, Anthony Davis, and Bam Adebayo. So
Nice.
a few differences, but yeah.
Yeah, I had Wemby, who ended up being in first. Jared Allen, Jalen Suggs, Alex Caruso, and Bam, who ended up being in first team. And the actual second team was Caruso, Drew Holiday, Jaden McDaniels, which you got nice. I for some reason he wasn't in my list, but definitely deserved to be. Jalen Suggs and Derek White. So I didn't have Drew Holiday or Jaden McDaniels at all, but they definitely deserve to be on this list for sure. Um,
For sure.
any differences between your
And
list and the actual list?
and I do think that this one's a little bit trickier because there's only two teams as opposed to three teams.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I believe the guys that I included that didn't make the list were it was mostly Kawhi Leonard and who I included who didn't make it. And then I also picked, let me see, was there someone else I picked that didn't make it?
Yeah, for
Um
me, that would be Shea and Jared Allen. I thought they would both make it, and
uh,
they did not.
oh yeah, I forgot. Shay didn't make it. Yeah. So the guys that I thought were gonna make it that didn't were Shay and Kawhi. And then the guys who did make it that I didn't put were I mean no, Drew Holiday and Alex Caruso, who were guys that I really wanted to include, but for whatever reason I just included other guys.
But yeah, I honestly, I don't think there was anything egregious here. Um, it is weird to see first
I
team being
agree.
almost the entire team being centers, but It is what it
Yeah,
is.
a little bit.
Uh,
Yeah,
do you want to know some of the honorable mentions?
sure.
I won't do them all since it's a long list, but Luke
Yeah,
Dort
just mention
almost
like
made it.
five or something.
Yeah, I'll do five. Luke Dort almost made it. He was the closest. Um, Kawhi Leonard is next. Chet Holmgren,
Okay.
third. Jared Allen, fourth. And Shea, fifth. So at least some of our
Mhm.
guesses that weren't on the list were at least close to being on the list.
Yeah. Was there any guy you listed that wasn't close?
I know Jared Allen and Shea were close, and those were the two
Okay.
that didn't make it that I thought were gonna make it. So yeah, they were at least close.
Okay, well done then. And same, yeah. Shea and Kawhi were close.
All right, now should we move on to the last thing, which is the rookie team,
I believe it is a good I believe it is a good time for us to transition to last but not least, the all NBA rookie teams.
which I do remember it was very hard for us to come up with the
It
rookie
was, yeah.
teams. But yeah,
Mhm.
for my prediction, I was kind of close actually. I had Pods in it. I had Wemby. I had Chet. I had Brandon Miller. And then the one person that definitely sticks out like a sore thumb now that I regret putting in first team was Keontae George. Um, Good rookie. Should have put Jaime in there. But what was your prediction?
Yeah. So my prediction was Kason Wallace, Brandon Miller, Jaime Hawkes, Victor Wembanyama, and Chet Holmgren. And turns out we got everyone except for Pods. I put Kason Wallace instead, and I feel like arguable between the two, but overall, not mad. Pod had a good rookie year.
Yeah, I was right about everybody except for Jaime Hawkes. The first team, all rookie team, it includes Chet, Jaime Hawkes Jr., Brandon Miller, Pods, and Victor Wembanyama, which makes sense. I agree with this team, honestly. They were definitely the five best rookies, so makes sense to me. Second team is where things got even harder, and looking
Yeah,
at it, it definitely aged pretty poorly. But
same.
mine, I had Scoot Henderson in there. I had Cam Whitmore, Jaime, who ended up being in first team, Asar Thompson, and Derek Lively, who I almost cut, but I ended up squeezing him in there and got rid of one of the Thompson twins. So I'm glad that I did that because he had a great season. Uh, who was in your
Definitely.
second team?
So my second team was also not the best prediction. I had Keontae George, Pods, Scoot Henderson, Asar Thompson, and Derek Lively. So I believe it's a good time for us to reveal the actual rookie second team. That
Yeah,
would be Keontae George, Gigi Jackson, Eric Lively, Amon Tomlinson, and Kason Wallace. So yeah, not the best set for us on the second team.
yeah, we got the
For
wrong
me,
Thompson twin in there.
yeah, same. Yeah, we got the wrong Thompson twin. Forgot to mention G.G. Jackson. I forgot how
Yeah,
good he was to finish
yeah,
the season.
that
There's
was
a
a
reason
mistake
why
on
I
our
didn't
part.
mention him. Yeah, I didn't mention him because I didn't know if he did really good early in the season. Like I
I
barely
don't think
heard about
so,
him in the
but
second half.
I don't think that really
Yeah.
matters for rookies.
Yeah, that's why it kind of shocked me. I didn't know whether it did or not. Um, so I picked the guys who I felt were more consistent throughout. But I'm not mad. I mean, I am a fan of GG Jackson's game. He has a cool name also,
True,
GG.
true. He
Um,
is, I think,
yeah.
the youngest player in the league right now.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool.
I could be
But
wrong.
yeah, wrong Thompson brother. I feel like it's reasonable. I mean, like at times Asar did look better, I think. But yeah, they are similar. Um, and then Kason Wallace, I had in first team, you had in second team, so we got him somewhere.
I didn't even have him actually.
You didn't? Oh, I forgot. You had a different OKC guy, did you?
I had a Thunder guy, Cam Whitmore.
Oh, Cam Whitmore. Oh no, Rockets, right? Cam Whitmore.
Yeah, Rockets.
Yeah, yeah. I thought about putting Cam Whitmore actually.
He
I
was
thought these other
doing
guys were just a
well towards
little.
the end, but yeah, Cam. I added
Yeah,
Cam
he did.
Whitmore instead of Cason Wallace, which was a mistake. I had Scoot Henderson in there, even though I knew he didn't really deserve it, but I felt weird having him out of it.
Yeah, same.
But yeah, not my
Well,
best
there are.
performance.
Yeah, but it is what it is. This is a tough prediction
Hmm.
segment.
It
And
was.
obviously, like Lakers fans, really frustrated about taking Jalen Hood Schifino because a lot of those guys we could have got made this list. Um, like Pods was drafted after him. And then honestly, I don't know about. Oh, I think Derek Live, or actually no, he wasn't. There were some other guys that were honorable mentions. Like for example, okay, let me move back for a second. Jaime Jaquez and Potts were taken after JHS, and then there were some other honorable mentions like Cam Whitmore that could have made it that was also taken after. But I will say that one valid point is if those guys here were on the Lakers, maybe they wouldn't be utilized as well. So maybe they wouldn't have made this list. So that's something to consider also.
Yeah, that's what
But
I was thinking.
yeah, so shying away from that off-topic thing, which even though it seems frustrating, but we really don't know what would have happened if it were meant to be. Um, yeah, rookie teams were definitely one of the more challenging ones to predict. But overall, I would say we did relatively okay for a tough prediction.
Yeah, I think we did pretty well overall. And that's it. This episode ended up being like 2 hours long, which is kind of
Really long.
crazy.
Yeah,
Don't be expecting more
it
of
is.
that because the season is winding down. There's less games to talk about, but we'll implement more games or more mini games in there. Kind of like today. We kind of had a surprise trivia game that I'll try to turn that into a TikTok this week, especially since I got a lot more days off moving forward. That's for sure. But yeah, I think we are done. Anything you want to say before we wrap things up?
Just want to say thanks for the viewers that have been watching our podcast on YouTube or listening on Spotify, as well as all of our other platforms. Um, your support is very greatly appreciated, and we enjoy making the content for you guys. Obviously, huge NBA fans, um, and obviously, playoff time is one of the more exciting times of the year. Obviously, certain certain matchups are a little bit better and others are a little bit more disappointing, but that's natural. Overall, it's been pretty cool to watch and um, stay tuned because the season is winding down and soon will be the finals, which is pretty much the all or take home. So, should be fun.
Yeah, it should be. So make sure you guys are following on all podcast platforms. If you are listening through Spotify Podcast, Apple Podcast, make sure you guys give us a 5-star rating and review. Follow us on those platforms. If you are watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment. Check out our social medias like our Twitter, our TikTok, which is the most active. It's definitely our TikTok and Twitter. Um, Check those out. And yeah, I believe we're done here. So thank you all for watching. We'll see you all next week. Bye bye.